surrounding suburbs hotspot that are around Success would definitely be Treeby and Hammond Park and Apsley, I would say as well.
Yeah, Apsley, Mandogla, Florence, all that kind of area is definitely a place to be.
Sort of like your entry point into your first home. Those sort of the suburbs we'll be looking at in terms of, getting to that Success price point.
Absolutely. This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde.
And Catherine Smith. Good morning.
How are you?
It's actually almost lunch.
It is almost lunch.
We're hungry.
We're getting there. I suppose just to let you know, we do kind of record back-to-back podcasts just to try and save sort of time sometimes, don't we? So yeah, that's probably why we're keeping our energy high with no sugar Pepsi Max.
This is not sponsored. This podcast is not sponsored by Pepsi Max, but I'm open to it.
So today I want to talk about another hot suburb that we feel is like just a great place to look at, and we've done one previously and why we think that's a great suburb to look at and invest in or to be near. And I think today we're going to look at the suburb of Success, which is in the city of Cockburn.
It is pronounced Cockburn, but it is read Cockburn.
And we had if you
in WA.
If you jump on our TikTok, you'll see why we were laughing about that earlier on. Yeah, please, you see why Catherine. It was Catherine's
real mature,
immaturity.
Tony. Real mature.
100% not me. I'm the technical side.
It's not Cockburn, okay? Roll up.
So we just want to talk about like that area, all around it, the suburbs and the kind of growth and why it's such a great sort of spot and the growth that's came around it and why we want to talk about it and why being near it is a really good place to invest, build, buy, or if it's for every home build in that area.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, Success is sort of, I would say, 20 minutes south of Perth, and it's directly off the train line. So it was very much a planned development, planned suburb. It originally seemed so far away.
Yep.
And I remember when originally it started, it was, basically a land, and now the transformation there in the past 15 years is, astronomical, and it's almost maxed out, but it is still rapidly growing. Just in terms of land scarcity, Success itself actually has very limited land opportunities, but it's more the surrounding suburbs that are sort of bandwagoning off the success of Success, I should say, and now taking advantage of that.
I think the main way to describe it would be it sits directly on the railway line.
Correct. It has its own train line called Success.
And, and probably go looking at the Cockburn shopping centre, more or less classed as the hub because there's so much around there. They've got that big swimming pool. You've got the Fremantle Dockers training centres that in there. Yes. The shopping centre, which has got another development to go. I think it was put on hold because of the C word, which we don't say.
Yeah.
But I think there's like cinemas and stuff like going in there. It's every road kind of directs you back to the Cockburn shopping centre.
Yeah, I think also because it was such a planned suburb, the planning of the layout is so streamlined. Do you know what I mean? Where the shopping centre, the restaurants there, generally people that live there generally don't need to go much else.
Stanley Hospital's just like a suburb, almost like a suburb or two up, really close.
Yeah, correct. So there is obviously the sporting facilities, the aquatic centre, which Tony mentioned with the Fremantle Dockers, that's their training centre as well. And then the actual shopping centre itself has grown, but it's also looking to expand in the future as well.
It's
which,
crazy.
To be honest, it doesn't really need it because it's got everything you need anyway in terms of it's got the Coles, it's got the Woolworths, it's got the Kmart, the everything else. Yeah.
So big shopping centre, but it's going to take on, the way I describe one of those big Westfield sort of shopping centres is going to operate, having the Odeon or whatever kind of cinema in there.
Yeah.
It's happening, breweries and stuff, and it's got a direct link right down to Fremantle. The road just straight down.
So Success, if you watched our podcast on under 600K, Belia was one of the suburbs. So Belia is a suburb just branched off Success, closer to the beach. So it goes basically through Belia to the beach there. So it's literally 5-10 minutes. You're at the beach from Success, and then the train line's there. easy to get into the city if you work in the city. So it's such a hub location for people, and the surrounding suburbs sort of have now jumped onto that.
And every suburb around there has pretty good bus lines and stuff, bus routes that take you back to the shopping centre, which is directly on the train link.
Yeah.
I mean, Cockburn Central train link is literally on the shopping centre, so
Now,
it's really good that way.
Not showing my age because I'm 26, but plus GST, give or take. Thank you, Tony. So flattering. So we actually did our first house and land passage in Success. This block was 680 square meters, which you actually cannot get a block for that. If you did, it would be like a subdividable corner block, but they were the lot sizes back then. This is even more of a joke because we actually had to get a tent and camp on the blocks that we wanted, and you would get a ticket like a butcher. I'm not joking, like a butcher, and you get the ticket and you say your number 52 in line to buy your block, and your number calls out and you go to the land office and you write an offer on the block. So that's how we did. So we camped out, if you guys remember those days, and then our block was 99,000 for 680 square meters. I know you're laughing at that price. 99,000, and then the next week it was 110,000, and it was a scandal because we got 99,000, but the people that camped the next weekend, because you couldn't camp during the week, it was only weekends they were open. Okay. The scandal that they had to pay 10% more, which actually, if fair, 10% is actually a huge jump, you know. But 10 grand for Success is nothing now. But you can imagine the scandal of that. And then we built a 4x2 with a theatre, and it was 120,000. And that was our first house and land package in Success for 220,000. You have no words, I know.
You can't even get a 315 square metre block in that area for that price.
I don't think you could get any block for 220,000.
Wow, that's mental.
That's crazy. The average 4x2 in Success is now, which I told Tony off the record just before the podcast, is now $675,000.
Wow.
And that is the median, right? So there's definitely houses there in the 8s and 9s now that are 4x2 with the big blocks, you know, those 600 plus blocks, so sort of old Success blocks.
That's crazy. And then from that point where you were there, it just exploded.
Yeah, so we were just sand. We there was nothing around us at the time. The shopping centre wasn't even built then, let alone the train line. But everyone was saying, why would you build out there? There's nothing there. Who's going to travel to your house for dinner and Success? You know, this was the feedback from the old generation because they lived in Como for $3, you know.
Yeah.
And now it's like everyone's like Success. What are you talking about? It's 20 minutes, yeah.
Well, that's it. And then the suburbs. So let's talk kind of more of the beachside sort of suburbs. So we spoke about, you know, the train line going down the centre of Perth and beachside, non-beachside. Yeah. I think first off the back was like Beelair we spoke about, watch the podcast. Then you got like Hammond Park, Success itself was like a kind of, they all started to really fly up and then they put the infrastructure in there and the railway line was already there, so it made perfect sense to build on that. And then we came across the freeway, Auburn Grove exploded.
Freebie. That's Treeby. Probably the last one there.
Bundy's kind of, I suppose, not too far away. And then you got like, now you're looking at the states like Cara, what's the first one that went off? Kalia sold out. I think the whole place sold out in about a year and a half.
That's a Stocklands development. Yeah, very nice. Great. And also very strategic, being next to Bunnings. It's always going to be
right up the Armadale Road.
A hotspot, you know. But what is very popular about Success is because it was such a planned hub, everything's there in terms of medical facilities. And I just made a obviously hilarious Bunnings joke, but you know, when you have your own Bunnings and things like that, it's like because there is such a need for it. It's such a family orientated area. In terms of my story with my house and land package, my first one we did, we actually still have that property. We rent it out. But what we find about that one is they're long-term tenants because you have families there. Yeah. So our tenants have been there a long time and their kids go to the local primary school and it's very, you know, targeted towards those families. So you generally, in terms of build to rent, is very desirable because you have people that make your house home and they look after it really well.
Yeah, and that's, and again, coming back to the buyer's agent on, he was talking about, you know, looking at suburbs and looking at the growth and looking at what's the rental market been like, has it dropped, has it stayed? I think Cockburn is one of those ones, or Success is one of those ones that would have stuck around. We've just been low rentals, high yields, because it's such a desired spot, and it's still desired to the spot. Of lots of clients coming in and saying, "Oh, I want to be in Hammond Park," and that you're like, guys, there's just one, unfortunately can't afford it, or two.
Well, they don't realise that it's $675 now. You know, in their head it's $550, and I actually catch myself doing the same thing because in my head I'm like 500s, you know, where it's actually now almost 700.
It's mad, and that's even down to even going down to Hammond Park now.
Yeah, correct.
Right down past. The bottom end of Hammond Park. We used to build there. 400 grand, somewhere there, 420 would be in package. Very common with Keystart, Hammond Park success. 450, 500 was easy for Hammond Park. I don't think
comfortably. Keystart client, no problem.
But that's the same as Treeby and Anketel and all that kind of area. You're looking at 550 now to be even comfortably in those areas. And even then, you're like, you might not get full turnkey on that point. So there is quite a bit.
Yeah, but it just shows the desirability of the suburbs in terms of how rapid the prices have increased in that area.
And infrastructure hasn't stopped. So there's plans, and I don't know where it sits at now. It was on hold, but the train line from Thornley right down to Fremantle.
Yes.
Because Cockburn doesn't link with trains to Fremantle, but they've certainly got the space to do that. I know that's something they're looking at.
Yeah.
Which would be another game changer, because that links two suburbs that have never truly been linked before other than being able to drive. Which I think would be massive, right?
Yeah. Tell us about the port moving.
Yeah, so this is another reason why I think, Cockburn success, Hammond Park, then even hitting the Quinana now area, Belias, all that sort of area. So within the next 10 years, Fremantle Port sits in Fremantle, right there at the top, but it's very touristy, desired land. I mean, it was handmade, built, it was man-built. What they're doing is the BP refinery just at Quinana, just north of that's getting closed down, and they've got that big, the old salt. You can Google this, so it might show a picture here. It's the old salt refinery.
Yeah.
I think that's a listed building. So all that, Port QG, all that area, it's now going to get the ports coming in there. So the ships are going to come into that port, and Fremantle Port is going to move basically about 15, 20 k's south over the next 10 years. That's just going to drive population where people want to work there. So it'll be your forklift drivers, and that's a big crane, your container drivers, lorry drivers, there'll be distribution centres, there'll be warehousing, all that stuff is going to start really flooding that market.
Yeah.
In there. And I know the land was bought up years ago, like a waddle up was bought up, and people were moved out of their homes. I'm talking 20 years ago for this purpose. It's just took that long to get it.
Yeah.
So it's when the government do their land grab and reclaim it. That land's still sitting there to be done, and that's going to develop, I believe, into commercial grade property for that. So therefore, that area right around there is going to just fly up in price. Again, another good area to invest in, because it is happening right now.
All right, cool. So in terms of success, it has been a very successful planning
Look at that.
Suburb, and just in terms of the rapid growth, but also that I think the planning decisions have been well thought out for that pocket, you know.
I mean, it shows you it's been 20 years in the making, with people being pushed out of Waddle Up and reclaiming that land. They've thought about this. Again, even Port QG, all those areas are all direct correlation from what's happened in success with the growth, because Fremantle couldn't cope with it anymore. Mm-hmm. That's come out, and they want to keep the prices in Fremantle as a premium, because it's a sought after city. And moving the port, that's all going to be real estate. That's going to be bars, shops, restaurants, probably high-rise fancy apartments and all that kind of stuff, from what I'm hearing through the grapevine. Yeah. So when that kind of thing happens, you know that the long-term growth and sustainability is definitely going to be there in that area. And that's why I'm saying, if you do have the money to be in success, you're talking 700 sort of cash, you will get the rental returns. You will be able to diversify and keep that going for many, many years, I think, anyway. And I'm thinking you probably
agreed.
Share the same with him. Again, I think it's really us for the day, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, a really short one here. And just showing, if you get into the right suburb and look at the long term, how it sits.
And generally speaking, look, if you kind of actually afford success, it's probably more the surrounding suburbs. It's something to look at as well. So surrounding suburbs, hotspot that are around success would definitely be Treeby and Hammond Park, and Apsley, I would say as well.
Yeah, Apsley, Mandoglop, Florence, all that kind of area is definitely a place to be.
Sort of like your entry point into your first home. Those sort of the suburbs we'll be looking at in terms of, getting to that success price point.
Absolutely. Again, if there's any other suburbs you want us to go and look at and break down for you and tell you why we think it's a good or a bad idea as well, we're more than happy to jump on it and talk to you privately or do a podcast if we've got enough inquiries. We want to keep the good message going that, you know, building in WA isn't as bad as what the media's making out. It really isn't. We've passed the C word thing. We're starting to get back on our feet. Not fully there yet, but we are getting there. And I think the only real thing that's probably slowing everyone down is the interest rates at the moment. That's the only thing that's really stopping everyone coming. But we know what the future holds in WA for the next 10 years, and you're going to have to start buying. So why not jump in now, buy in an area that we've spoke about, or reach out and we'll give you a hand on where we think's good and start reaping the benefits of that investment.
Yeah,
I can't say we can get you in Cockburn for $220,000, but
no, probably not that.
well, we could, but you would.
We would have to camp out for a while.
This size of house, sort of thing. You have to stand in, have a post box or something.
Yeah, with a little butcher's paper. Oh God, crazy.
Well, anyway, we digress. Thank you so much again for listening. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment. Please, please, please keep it going. It really does help us keep going, and it helps put out a good message. So we're trying to say that the building industry is not as bad as it's made out. So thank you so much.
And goodbye.
Bye-bye. This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Lawn Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.